Good evening. Two mothers have spoken of their years of suffering after contracting hepatitis C from infected blood transfusions. One told the inquiry into the contaminated blood scandal she felt coerced into having the procedure.
The woman said the pain they'd felt for decades was indescribable. The inquiry being held in Edinburgh is investigating how thousands of patients became infected with Hep C and HIV in the 1970s and 80s. Vanessa Kennedy reports.
When Gill Fyffe gave birth in 1988, she had to have her placenta removed. She was told she needed a blood transfusion, but she and her husband were reluctant due to fears over HIV. After pressure from doctors at Ninewells Hospital, they eventually gave in, but said they felt coerced.
You're in that position in hospital where you're totally dependent on the doctors. You don't really understand, we don't have a medical training, so you don't really understand what's going on. And it's really quite a scary thing to annoy them.
In the years that followed, Gillian suffered extreme fatigue, once even falling asleep at the wheel. It was only 7 years later that she received a letter warning that she may have been infected with hepatitis C.
I started screaming, and because it was 7 years, and I'd never seen my GP, though we had registered, and I was screaming at Stan, get the doctor, get us to the doctor.
Her children weren't affected, but the impact of Gillian's treatment has left a lasting impact on the family.
I remember us sort of planning our lives around it. You know, if we start the next batch of drugs today, then Mum will be awake for her birthday and Christmas.
When Eileen Dyson was 29, she worked as a successful international tax manager and was expected to eventually become a partner. When she gave birth to her first child in April 1988, she required an emergency C-section and was given 3 units of blood. Within days, she became extremely ill. She was taken to an infectious diseases unit and away from her newborn.
And I said, well, can you what is wrong with me? Why have I been sick? And they said, you shouldn't be thinking about that now. What you should actually be doing is being happy. Just go home and enjoy your baby.
She continued to receive further blood transfusions, all the time becoming more unwell.
I would take the children into bed and make a tent and let them play around me. But what was distressing to me was, first of all, I didn't want them to see me being sick and being in pain. And also it upset me that I wasn't really being a good mother.
At least 5 years after the first transfusion, she was told she had hepatitis C.
Eileen sought answers from the Scottish National Blood Transfusion Service, who said while they wouldn't be able to trace the original blood donation, blood transfusion was the most likely source of her infection. They've offered their sincere apologies.
Tomorrow, the inquiry will hear from 3 more witnesses who've been affected by what's been described by the chairman as the greatest treatment disaster in the history of the NHS. Vanessa Kennedy, STV News, Edinburgh.